I was so excited to get my shipment from Last Bottle Wines in the mail the other day, full of incredible red wines, all from Napa Valley. I love wine tasting, so having this to my door couldn't be happier. Also, couldn't be more excited that today's episode is brought to you by Last Bottle Wines. If you don't know already, they're a Napa-based online wine shop with a twist. They offer just one handpicked wine per day until it sells out, and they're always at incredible prices. We're talking 30 to 70% off retail. And the best part is that there's no subscriptions, no fees, and no minimum purchase. And I could not be more excited to bring this offer right now because they're having a marathon sale, which is coming up March 28th and 29th. Even better, we're offering Dateable listeners 10% off your first order with code DATEABLE. So if you are a wine lover like me, this is a great time to join. And did I mention that shipping is 100% free? So what are you waiting for? Mark your calendar for March 28th and 29th, or get on it earlier if you want. You can sign up at lastbottlewines.com and use code DATEABLE and find out why Last Bottle is the most fun way to discover and buy amazing wine. We are so thrilled to be partnering with Hinge. Hinge is the dating app designed to be deleted. As you all know, I'm a huge Hinge advocate as I met my partner of almost 3 years on the app. Even before meeting him, Hinge was always my go-to app because I met more relationship-minded people here and had some great dates. Clearly, I haven't been on the app for a little while, but I re-downloaded it to check out some of the new features. One that stood out to me was the voice prompt, my best friend's take on why you should date me, where your friend can hype you up. Not only does this make the profile creation less daunting, but it's not always easy to see your own green flags. So to test it out, I asked Yue some fun prompts to get her take on what I could put if I was dating again. So the first one, how long have we known each other? What was your first impression of me and how has that changed?
Julie and I have known each other for almost 10 years. My first impression of Julie was that she's very social, but I've learned that she has a lot more depth to her beyond the social butterfly that she is.
My next prompt, what do you think are my green flags?
I would say she's deeply loyal. She believes in love, curious mindset, and she is fearlessly ambitious.
And then last but not least, what kind of friend am I?
Julie is the kind of friend who will always have your back, no matter what.
Damn, that feels nice to hear. So download Hinge and try voice prompts today. Then find someone worth deleting the app for.
The Dateable podcast is hosted by me. I'm Yue, a former dating coach in New York turned active dater in San Francisco. On each episode, you'll hear commentary by my producer, Julie Kraftchick, and other surprise co-hosts. This episode of Dateable is brought to you by 500 Brunches. 500 Brunches connects like-minded people with similar interests to meet in real life over brunch. You answer a quick questionnaire about your interests and how you spend your time, and then they'll match you in small groups of 6 to 8 at a brunch spot in San Francisco. Get a free entry into a brunch now by signing up at 500brunches.com and using the code DATEABLE. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Dateable, a show that opens up a candid conversation about dating in San Francisco. I've got two guests with me today. We have a guest co-host. His name is Harrison. He was on a previous episode. And he's I would call our in-house millennial.
Millennial. Hashtag millennial. The hashtag millennial is here.
Harrison's 25 years old. So I love that we're more than a decade apart. So I have a lot to learn from him.
That's what I'm here for.
And our guest for this episode is Melissa. Melissa is 35 years old, so you guys are legit 10 years apart.
You can meet halfway at 28.
That's what I usually do.
She has lived in San Francisco for 11 years, also originally from Jersey. That's where you're from, Harrison. She claims that she's been single for 8 years, which is quite the contrast from Harrison, who's been single for 2 weeks.
2 weeks. It's been a long 2 weeks.
Wow.
A really long 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Crazy.
But also because 8 years ago you were still in high school, so
yeah.
8 years ago you were not of legal age, so
8 years of being single means you have a lot of great stories. And the story Melissa is about to tell, I've heard already.
Okay.
But I can hear the story over and over again.
I'm like, wow. Let's do it. You know?
All right, go for it, Melissa.
Oh, we're just jumping right in.
Yeah,
We're just going
Story
for it.
time. I guess we're doing story
All right.
time.
Okay. All right. So let's see. I met this guy on Tinder, where all great relationships start. And we had gone out on 2 dates. The first 2 dates were great. Like, you know, in fact, the second date, like, we were hanging out, and I mentioned I was going up to Tahoe, and he was kind of like hinting that he wanted to come up to Tahoe for the weekend with me. Yes, and I was like, okay, yeah, real aggressive. I'm like, okay, we'll just see about that. So anyway, yeah, that didn't happen. He bailed. I mean, bailed. He was like my age, I think, like in his 30s, 30 something.
Okay.
So that's that. So this is our third date. So I was pretty excited about this third date, and the day comes around and I don't hear from him. I'm like, you know, whatever. Guys should usually, in my book, confirm the night before or at least, you know, that morning. So I'm like, all right, you know, I was like, I'm gonna give this guy until like, you know, 3 o'clock, and if not, I'm just gonna not, you know, go out with him. So he just made the cutoff. He got up with me at like probably 2 or 3 or something, and he was like, hey, you know, making plans for the night, and I'm like, okay, yeah, let's do it. What's the plan? And he's like, well, it's National Corn Dog Day. So
to be fair, he did research, right?
It's creative.
A little bit of planning.
I'm curious to see where he's going with this.
And who doesn't love corn dogs?
I mean, I love a corn dog, but I mean, I don't know. I was expecting a little bit more than a corn dog. So, especially because I was like already kind of like irritated that I hadn't heard from him. You know, I was just like, that just irritated me further. He hadn't gotten in touch with me all day, and I was like, you know, what was the deal? And he said he had to work or whatever. And so I like kind of gave him the benefit of the doubt. I was like, okay, you know, whatever. Yeah. All right. So I get there and I get to Soma Street Food. I meet up with him. He said something about like not having to work, and he like surfed all day or something. Or something, I don't remember the specifics, but then I was like really annoyed, you know?
So the stories didn't line up.
Right. It was, I can't remember the exact details, but I do remember he had like, there was something going on that he said he had to work, and then I met up with him and it was like, oh, actually I didn't have to work and I was surfing all day and I just like wasn't contacting you. It was something
about
like,
his job?
it was, I don't know. I don't know what was happening. So, I mean, I am going to say first and foremost that I definitely was not like super like happy. I wasn't exactly
so
like,
you were showing
I
a little bit
was
of
definitely not feeling it right then and there. You know, I was just like, all right, you know,
at that point, you know.
yeah. And then, so I get there and I'm a little salty, and and there are like lines everywhere for freaking corn dogs. We were like waiting this like hour-long line for a freaking corn dog, and we had he bought me like one drink while we were there, and then we were waiting in line, and so I offered, you know, to buy him a drink, and I got my corn dog, and like the first bite I took, it like fell on the ground, and like it was just not like
nothing going right.
Yes, nothing going right. So we're sitting outside. Oh, it's freezing, by the way. That's
March.
the other thing. That's the other thing. It was absolutely freezing.
The worst day.
Right. It's absolutely freezing. So I already dropped my corn dog on the ground, so I don't even have a corn dog, okay? So I'm like sitting there watching him eat his corn dog in the freezing cold. And he's like, I have to go to the bathroom. I'm like, okay, great, you know, go. And so I'm sitting there, and I'm like, it's getting kind of cold. Like, he's taking a kind of a long time to go to the bathroom, you know? And I'm like, you know, so whatever, the game's on, I'm watching it. And then, like, I just go to check my phone to see how long he's been in the bathroom. And I get a text that says, doesn't seem like things are going well. I left.
What?
Oh, you got a text from him. Just to clarify.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
What?
So
Without he Irish goodbye, like crazy Irish goodbye.
Or bathroom bail.
bathroom bailed. I knew it wasn't going well, and I was sitting there thinking, like, you know what? When this guy comes back, I'm just gonna call it. You know, I'm just gonna say, hey, this isn't going well. Like, but he just never came back.
Did he finish his corn dog?
Of course he did.
You
My corn dog fell on the
gone.
ground.
It was on the ground.
Yeah. And I'm like sitting there in the freezing cold, like
by yourself.
outside,
He said
waiting for
he
him.
just dipped.
Done. I don't know. That was just like such a cowardly thing to me. And so
There's more. There's more to the story.
I have to pull up the text because I did search for it just to
No.
find it.
Can you read
I
us
was-
the whole chain?
You want me to read
Yeah.
the whole thing? Okay. All right. I'm heading home. Doesn't seem like we're good together.
Wait, what? That's the first text?
That was the text I got when I knew.
This guy is
Yeah,
off his
right?
back.
Right?
Oh my god.
Yeah, right? And I
I hope
said,
he's listening.
I
really
said, are you serious? You're really going to say you're going to the bathroom and just never come back? Seriously, that was just really an awful thing to do. Why would you do that rather than just talk to me about it?
Wow. That's
And he said, we can't have a simple conversation without you getting emotionally upset about a small issue. So I didn't know how you're going to react to a big one. I don't like EDM at all. You said you're too
he gone. He gone.
You said you're too selfish for kids, which I probably want today, and you never offered to pay for anything.
Wait.
Just said thank you. Too many issues for me, which sorry, I said thank
Wait,
you.
the kids thing? This was your third date.
Right.
Third date and
right.
the kids thing?
Let's also recap that we were going to Tahoe last weekend, right? Okay, we were on the
my
Tahoe
God.
train last weekend. And I said, I bought him a beer because he was like, you never paid for anything.
Petty.
I said, I bought you a beer.
Right.
You've bought me maybe 5 drinks total. This was our third date. And I said, it's pretty customary for a guy to pay for drinks in the beginning, even dinner, like a real dinner.
Not a corn dog.
As it is for him to make plans and follow up on them. The other things you're just judging me on without even knowing me. I never liked EDM either. I just love music and have an open mind. Said I'm on the fence about kids, blah, blah, blah. And I said, either way, it's a shitty thing for a man to do to a woman. You should at least have the decency to talk to me rather than leave me sitting at a table alone outside and getting cold, wondering why it's taking you so long to go to the bathroom.
Wow.
It's just not nice. You think because I disagree on how calories are burned that I deserve that? Not sure what that
my
means.
God.
Not sure what that means,
Wow.
but clearly some kind of heated argument we had about how calories are burned.
That's insane.
Clearly not meant to be.
So he said, honestly, when you walked up, you said you were upset. I was very close to just walking away at that point. You should have just canceled or texted me earlier if you're so concerned about the time. We went 4 different places on 3 dates, and you got me 1 Paps. Thank you, was it?
Wow.
Thank you. Yes. I have plenty of money to buy drinks all night, and I would, but if you come in with that attitude,
He said this?
I'm
Plenty
ready.
of money?
Yep.
Oh my god.
But-
this guy needs.
If you come in with that attitude and expectation of me being a fucking ATM, mad attitude and no respect, why would I want to stay? Why would anyone?
So who had the last word?
Oh, he did. I stopped.
What did he
I
say?
stopped. The last word was, I said I'm a nice person and the last person to take advantage of anyone, which is true. I said I'm an independent woman. I don't need anyone to pay for me. And I feel uncomfortable about the topic and would prefer to pay for myself. But I usually like, I feel like men usually like to feel like they're taking care of a woman, so whatever. Let's preface this with I was going through this phase of like I'm too nice. Like I feel like sometimes I'm too nice. Like I know that there are girls who just expect men to pay, and that
Right.
makes me feel uncomfortable. Like so I'll always offer or So I'm going through this phase where I'm just like, you know what, Melissa. first couple of days, just let him pay. Just let
and say
let
thank
him
you.
let him pay and say thank you every time.
This
Like
is what
that's a
comes-
nice thing to do, right? Yeah. So of course, like this social experiment, this is how this worked out.
So what's the last thing he said
So
to you?
he said, "Your words, what you say, is not reflective of your actions, and it's quite obvious. I've met plenty of independent women, and it's pretty blatant, without question and without them saying it. Maybe because you got back from a trip where you didn't pay for anything, but I advise you to get out of this world thinking you're expecting shit and half-assed thankful when
You didn't even
half-assed
do it.
thankful when you
What?
get it. You may think I'm wrong, but you definitely made me feel that way."
Okay, first of all, the fact that this guy couldn't even come back and tell you like
Right.
a
To
couple
his
of words
face.
to your face, yet is sending you books.
Right.
That's just
That's
like
the
so-
passive aggressive attitude you see all the time.
But that's
And
what's so wrong
so
with
annoying. It's
This
so
is
annoying.
the problem I have with people who have really terrible communication skills.
Yeah.
You can tell that this guy from date one was just cringing in his seat the minute you didn't offer to pay. But he didn't express it, right? So this is like a buildup from the first date.
I guess.
But you have no idea until
Right.
the third date, like this explosion.
He just unleashes everything
Yeah.
instead of like
Yeah.
being open
Well,
and talking.
But here's the thing, like I didn't read it all, but in my text I did actually list the number of drinks that he bought me, and it was 5 to my 1. So he literally bought me 4 drinks, and I'm treating him like an ATM, and I don't know. I just thought it was funny that this was the first time I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna let it ride. I'm just gonna sit back and let the man pay, make him feel like a man, and no.
Harrison, I want to hear
Yeah.
from your side. Why do you think he did that?
I think he was obviously scared, right, to confront you to your face, and it's passive aggression, right? And he took the easy way out, which is just so ridiculous to me. Like, talk like a human, like actually confront and talk about it. For him to do that, you might see that in elementary school, maybe middle school, tops.
Right.
At like, come on.
I mean,
Come on.
Right, like
What
he
are
has
you
a
doing?
right to feel however he does,
He
but
was
it's
scared,
how he
but talk about
communicated it.
And on the
That's
third
part.
date, I'm blown away by the third date. Like,
Right.
for all this to come out by the third date, people date for a year, and then none of
Yeah.
this, like, this type of eruption won't happen, you
Yeah.
know? And the third date,
Yeah.
it's just crazy to me.
Who knew he's so angry? First of all, and second of all, like I said, like when he was in the bathroom, I'm sitting there thinking, like, you know what? I'm just gonna let this guy know that let's just call it quits
Just
right
not
here.
gonna, yeah.
I was prepared to have that conversation.
Did you guys did you guys hook up first
No.
2 dates?
I don't
make
even
out?
remember. We might have like made out or kissed or at some point. I mean, like I said, he was planning a trip to Tahoe with me on date 2. So
I'm blown away.
Okay, so I want to be a little bit empathetic to this guy. Can we find anything redeeming about what he did? Now, I will not excuse what he did, but how did he feel in that moment? I can see, you going into the date with a negative attitude could set the tone wrong, right?
Yeah, you
So
have to
fair
have an
enough.
open mind.
fair enough.
That maybe
Yeah.
he, maybe he did have a really bad day,
But
or
we go through moods, right? But you
Yeah.
have to be open about it and talk about it. Like,
right.
first second, he could have been like, sorry, it's been a shitty day. Like, excuse me if I'm a little pissed off, you know?
Yeah, well, and actually, to that point, that is actually what I said. Because when I first met up with him, I was just kind of like, I will admit that when I first met up, I was a little bit annoyed and not being the warmest person. But I did say, like, after a little bit, I said, I'm going to be honest with you, I'm upset because I didn't hear from you all day. I thought you were working, but instead you were surfing, and that was just annoying to me, so I'm upset about that, And apparently that's not something you do.
You're
Wow.
right, Harrison. This sounds like they're like a married couple fighting, right?
It's crazy
I
to
thought
me.
you were working, then now you're surfing.
I thought we were meant for each other.
Lies. I can't
my
trust
God.
you. Who's Tracy? It's one of
Oh,
those
it's
conversations.
completely just like not natural.
But I want to hear from your side.
Right.
If you went on a date with a girl and you get the sense that she's in a bad mood and she's being negative, how would that make you feel?
How would I react?
Yeah.
I would go along with it, Well, I wouldn't like just say like stop being a bitch, I don't think I would ever say that, right? Because then you don't want to offend her. I think you have to because I've been in bad moods before, so you just have to be empathetic.
So this is the kind of the discussion I have with some of my friends who are like, what happens if you're already in a negative place before going on the date? Do you warn them in text beforehand and then voice it when you're in person? Or do you just surprise them when you show up?
That's a good question.
What would you prefer?
That's a good question. I think I would prefer the text ahead of time.
Yeah. Kind of like,
I do.
Hey, just so you know,
hey, it hasn't been a great day. This happened at work. It's been a shitty day. Maybe you can cheer me up or something.
It is a sad fact of modern dating that we deal with this. I've never heard to this extreme.
I mean, this is not ghosting. This
Ghosting is like text and then you don't get a text
but it's like the
response.
disappearing act.
You're right,
Like
yeah.
the whole thing of it.
Yeah.
But then people feel like they can say whatever they want over text, which is
Exactly.
which is amazing to me.
Oh my god.
I can't say this to your
Crazy.
face, but here's a novel of how I really feel.
That's insane.
Actually, the one thing that I wanted to ask you, get a male's perspective on this, is the paying.
Yeah, I do want to talk about that.
That
The
is
pay.
Actually, we have a question of the day about that.
That is
Oh. So what is the question of the day?
Okay.
Let's just weave it all in.
Samantha writes in, she said, at what date should I start paying? I feel like...
such a great question.
I feel like at the beginning, I've kind of let him. I'm not sure if I should do like the purse grab or I should just let him pay. What do you guys think?
It's interesting. I have a lot of guy friends who have very strong views about this, but then they don't voice it to the girls. They voice it to each other or to me, but then they don't say it to their partner.
Right.
So this is what I hear from a lot of my guy friends. They say, I just need the girl to offer. I just need the girl to offer. How do you feel about that, Harrison?
I agree. That's my opinion. I think even date 1 or 2, like the purse grab, that means a lot. From my perspective, I mean, I want to pay no matter what. First few dates, I think it's the right thing to do. But if you don't say anything and I just like do it and you're like, come on, I mean.
So for a drink though, see, and this is also the thing, like,
Yeah.
it's just so awkward. It's like, if you go out and have 3 drinks, like every drink, you're like, like who's gonna pay
I don't
for
think
this
every
one?
drink. I think like the beginning maybe, and then when they say I got it, just kind of let them go from there. But
And you could get 1 drink. Let's say we get 4 drinks at a bar. We're just at a bar.
Yeah.
You could say like, all right, I'm getting this last one. You got all the others.
Yeah.
I got this last one. That's cool.
Yeah, see,
I think it's cool.
This is how I feel about the paying thing. Maybe I'm just very traditional in this. Is that I think there's nothing sexier than going on a date with a guy who's like, I got this. Like, as soon as the check comes, just grabs for it. Doesn't even wait for me to reach for my purse.
Yeah.
I agree.
Also, I think I don't believe in the whole reaching for your purse. If I'm reaching for
Really?
my purse, I'm paying. That is
Yeah.
my intention. If I'm reaching for my purse to appease him, that's not the right thing to do.
Right.
every
Right.
guy knows the purse grab is fake. But
Of course,
to what Harrison
exactly.
said, at least it shows appreciation.
All guys should, no matter what, whether purse grab or not, pay for the first couple dates. Like, no matter what.
How many
You know?
dates?
Yeah.
That's Samantha's
So
question.
going back to the question.
Oh yeah, right.
Going back to the question when you start splitting, I think you start splitting the first time or 2 when you hang out, when it's not like a whole operation, like a whole date night. Because that's when you're like starting to see each other, right? Once you're starting to see each other, I think that's when you can start splitting from time to time. You think that's premature?
Interesting. I dated a guy for months, and he like always insisted on paying,
Yeah.
and
Really?
yeah,
Well, not splitting every time, but like once in a while.
yeah.
I don't love the split
I don't
in
like
general.
splitting
what
either.
I prefer to do
Oh,
is
like
pick it up
I,
sometimes.
oh yeah, that's
Like,
happened to me. Yeah,
if he
yeah.
picks it up 3 times, I pick it up 1 time. You know, like
Okay,
that
that's
kind of-
happened.
or if he
Or-
gets dinner, I get drinks.
That's
Or
fair.
some people like to do like, you get dinner, I get the Uber ride, or
Right.
I, you know,
Oh, yeah.
I get
Exactly.
dessert
I like
after.
that. I like
Yeah.
that.
And I think
Yeah.
that's great too. But
Yeah.
the point
Yeah, maybe not
is,
splitting.
every couple's different, right?
Right.
Everyone has their own views on
Right.
it.
Exactly.
Right.
Is this something you should discuss on a date? How
Right.
you view paying for
Instead of
bills?
him building
Not
it
in
up.
the beginning.
Yeah, right.
Not in the beginning,
But-
but at what point? Like, what's
Yeah.
the
Do
beginning?
you talk about it?
What's the alternative is what you got was that influx of text.
What,
about
I
it.
mean, what I think is so funny is that he said I treated him like an ATM when he bought me 4
Whoa.
drinks. I mean, like
That's not crazy.
that.
But
Those
see,
are
in his
some of the
mind-
cheapest dates I've ever been on. Like some
It's
first
his
dates, we go out to
perception.
dinner. Like this was
Right.
a 3rd date. You brought me out to corn dogs, and then you're telling me I'm treating you like an ATM.
But see, Melissa, I would say that those first
Really?
2 dates, when he was paying for you, he was happy to do so because you were, there with him and you were positive. I bet by the 3rd date, when you showed up with an attitude, he was like, I pay for this girl, like all of a sudden it became
but
an
I did
issue.
buy him a drink.
Subconsciously,
I
he was
did.
thinking it.
Consciously.
I
That's
did buy him a
Exactly what
drink
he
though.
sounded like, too. That's
Here's
what-
Yeah.
You bought him a
Yeah.
drink.
I bought him a drink.
At the corner.
I went. I
That's
bought him a
nice.
drink. I offered to buy him a drink.
PBR,
He's-
though. I'm just kidding.
I know. Well, to go with the corn
That's so
dog.
funny,
To go with the
actually.
corn dog.
I think it's sexy when after a few dates, like the girl I'm dating, she's like, "Look, you've gone like 4 or 5 dates. Let me get this one.
Yeah.
Like, I have to
and
get
be
this one."
adamant. Right?
And like,
Right.
don't worry, like I have to get this one. You've paid for so much so far.
That's
I
fair.
love that. That's hot.
I just really feel like people should go into each date with the intention of, am I going to pay or am I not going to pay?
Right.
You should decide that before you go on the date because that sets the tone for the rest of the date. When I see, like, I do the 4 to 1 or 3 to 1 rule.
3 to 1.
So
Okay.
3 dates, he pays, and then I do 1 big date, and I
Yeah.
pay,
Ooh.
right? 3 smaller dates, then I do 1 big date. That's just the way I like to do things. But on
fair.
that
3 to
1
1.
big date, I go in and I tell him from the very get-go, I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm asking you out, I'm planning the date, and I'm gonna pay. Set
Yeah,
the tone.
definitely. I've
Set
done
the
that.
tone.
Yeah.
Right?
That's
And
awesome. I
to-
think that's cool. When
Yeah, like to
girls
the
do that.
point though, like if you're going on multiple dates, go to frozen yogurt, go to
Right.
coffee.
Right.
Like that's $2.
I agree.
Or
Like,
Yeah,
stop
exactly.
going on so many dates, right?
Yes.
Filter better.
I purposefully tell the guy to pick the date because, if I'm assuming he's going to pay, I want him to pick the place so it's a comfortable price point for him,
Or another, that's a great point. Whoever initiates
Right.
should pay. And see, but this is the problem with expectations and miscommunication.
Right.
You should be able to set those expectations.
Exactly. And the finance thing, I mean, that's one example, but it's so telling of both personalities and how you're handling this certain situation. Like, it goes so much deeper. If you
Yeah.
can't communicate about this little thing, you've got, wow. Like, the rest of the emotional runway is going to be horrible. Like, because you guys just aren't in sync.
Exactly.
Like, completely out of touch with each other.
And it
Yeah.
becomes buried
Yeah.
until one
It
day
is-
erupts like
Right.
that guy.
Exactly.
Right.
well,
Exactly.
that's the,
It's not an issue
If-
until
if
it
you're
is
from
an
San
issue.
Francisco.
I mean,
Yes,
I
exactly.
guess, oh man, the question is for me, was the guy going to the bathroom planning
It's a good question.
to bail? Or was he waiting in line for the
Well-
bathroom and being like, you know what?
there's only
I'm out.
one person that could answer that.
Maybe they ran out of toilet paper.
Should we text him right now?
Let's text him right now. Let's text him. Can we call him? Can we FaceTime him?
So I wanted to-
We should FaceTime.
So were you planning on going to the bathroom? Or?
Oh my god, that would be unreal.
Let's
like,
take some guesses though. I say he was already planning to leave.
Me
He's
too.
never made
Planning
it to the
to
bathroom.
leave.
That's
Planning
what
to
I
leave.
think.
Planning to
Interesting.
leave.
I thought he was like standing in line for the bathroom or whatever. I was just like, you know what? Fuck this shit. No? You
Planning
think-
leave.
No,
'Cause
I
there's
think
no
you're
other way.
exit strategy.
He wouldn't have said it any other way. Like, if he was just Irish goodbye, he
Yeah.
would have said, I'm going to the bathroom. Like,
He did say he was going to the bathroom.
That's what I'm saying. Like, there's no other way
Oh.
he would have said if he just
Yeah.
Irish goodbye and
Yeah,
dipped.
I think he
Yeah.
he already knew he was leaving.
I wish, because I was sitting there for so long, I wish I knew like the time period between like when he texted
Yeah.
and when he
Yeah.
left, like,
He's like in an Uber
how-
already.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm safe to text.
Oh
I mean,
unbelievable.
to
Really
his
is unbelievable.
defense, he went to the bathroom. He just didn't clarify which bathroom. He just meant I'm going to the bathroom at my own home. So he's not at fault here,
That's
okay?
crazy.
He did go to the bathroom. So Melissa, you're at fault because you didn't ask him which bathroom.
Right, yeah.
Always
You're right,
clarify.
you're right, you're
Communication,
right.
guys. This kind of gave me an idea for all the apps out there. Just a little thought here. So now on the apps, you can say what you're looking for, your relationship status. Now maybe there should be a blurb about how you view about paying for dates.
Ooh.
That would be interesting,
That would be
right?
interesting.
That would be.
Okay.
Do you believe in the guy paying for the first couple dates? Do you believe in splitting the bill?
Yeah.
That would be I think that could
Yeah,
be an
there's-
interesting experiment.
There's so many things like muddling traditions these days, right? So now, like with Tinder, there's like so many more dates. Like, you know, you think, oh, guy pays for a date, it's not that big of a deal. But if he's going on like so many dates, it adds up.
Yeah.
And then also with women becoming more independent, like then guys think like, oh,
Yep.
you know, so there's so
Right.
many things now muddling the tradition
It's
that,
true.
you know,
Confuses
It
a
is
lot of people.
confusing.
Women making
Confuses a lot
first
of people.
moves and like
Yeah.
asking them on dates.
Yeah.
Like, it's
That's
not
that's a good point.
as
That's a
black
great
and white
point.
as before.
It's like, you know, this whole
It's a great
modern
point.
romance, it's like puberty, right? We're growing at a speed, exterior wise, we're growing at a speed that's bringing us to a level where our minds can't catch up.
oh, look at that.
Right?
Whoa,
So our
that was
roles
deep.
are being
Wow, that is
very,
deep.
our roles are very progressive. We're already very progressive with our
Hmm.
roles, but then we don't have the communication skills to talk about
really
our
interesting.
expectations, what we think is right or wrong. And then we also just don't have like any of the social skills to do that. But our roles
some
are
more
already
than
doing
others.
that. Yeah, yeah, exactly. So what did we learn from this? There are two takeaways, or two main takeaways. One is, I mean, the bathroom veil is just disgusting. I can't even like fathom what that would feel like. But it's about communicating how you feel in the moment and just making the best out of it. You either say, okay, this is not going well. I'm either going to try to turn this date around, or I'm going to go in and tell her, this is not working well. Let's just call it a night. Maybe, you know, we'll talk later, right? So like communicating how
Right.
you feel in the moment. That's one major takeaway for the bathroom veil. Any
Huge.
others for that one?
It all stems from communication.
Yeah.
That's like the number one
Respect.
driver.
Respect
Res-
is
yeah.
huge, and also just being intentional with the dates. Going into a date thinking, I'm going to pay, I'm going to have a good time. Those are two main mindsets that will completely change the tone of the date.
And I've actually learned that because I think I have made the mistake of confirming the day of before. I made that mistake before. I've definitely
What
learned,
time?
like
What time? Though?
Yeah, what time?
maybe like 11 a.m.
Yeah, 4 o'clock is way too
Okay,
late.
four
I see
o'clock's
that.
definitely late, but it's good to know that you know a night before
Right.
it is respectful.
Well, for any
Um,
male listener, you're never going to get dinged for doing it earlier. So
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. But
You
I
wanna
would
be-
also say on the flip side, for anybody who's waiting for the date to confirm, why don't you just reach out?
Right.
Right.
You know what? Oh man, this is an
That's where,
Gender
they get,
norms?
that's where they get
Look,
I
annoyed.
agree. I'd rather do that than be negative.
You know
Yeah.
what?
I'm in a bad
I've
place about
Take
it.
control.
Still
I don't
on for
know.
drinks
Take control.
tonight. Because
being
you want to say
single
that.
for so long, I've tried them all, and it's just like you want to feel as if you're being pursued. You
Yeah.
know,
But it's,
that's
But
at the
also,
end of the day.
hey, just want to see if we're still on for tomorrow so I can plan accordingly. I think that's a
I mean,
perfectly
I
fine
agree.
statement.
Again, there's just like I try all these experiments. The not offering to pay, the not reaching out. There's like different experiments that I've tried, and I just feel like if a guy is excited about seeing you or looking forward to seeing you, then he'll get in touch. Otherwise,
I think a lot of it
fair.
depends on what's important to you also, right? Like for some people, planning and doing that is more important. And in that case, you want a guy that's like that. If that's not as important, then it might not matter as much.
yeah.
And all of these points just divert from what an actual date is supposed to be, which is
Yeah.
talking
Yeah.
about shit you're both interested in. And like everything we've talked about
You mean
has nothing to do with
non-EDM?
like the core part of a normal date, So all of these things just like get people off track.
Well, one last question for you,
Yeah.
Harrison. So girls kind of think if he is into me, he will reach
Ooh.
out first and he'll pay for the date. Are these things true for you?
Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, without a doubt. I think, well, without a doubt, you're 100% paying for the first couple dates. Most guys, almost all guys should, honestly, pay for the first few dates. And if you're interested, you should make that clear. I mean, my personal problem has been, like, I'm a little too aggressive when I'm interested. But I think that's better than the passive aggression, to be honest.
And I don't want to use the word should. I don't think anybody
Yeah.
should do
Yeah, yeah.
anything, but I do think that if you initiate,
If you initiate,
should,
you're interested.
That means that you would like to pay for the date. If
Oh,
you
of
initiate,
course. If I
you
say
would like
let's
to
grab
do it.
drinks tomorrow, for the first time to a girl, it's insinuated that I'm paying.
Yeah.
You know? 'Cause it was my idea. It was my idea.
Yeah.
So here's the thing, guys. I just today suggested to a Tinder date that we go grab drinks. Am I expected to pay?
I would go in with the intentions of paying.
Well, that's not happening.
Wow, that's a good question.
I think you should go in with intentions of paying, grab fully for your purse, and see what he does, but not as a test.
But judge him if he lets you pay.
That's every girl does this. It's like, I'll grab the purse, but I'm going to judge you hard.
That could be an episode by itself. I want to hear
super
from you, listeners at home. I've heard so many interesting stories. People like splitting a glass of wine and then splitting the bill. I've heard this story too. I want to hear how you guys feel about it. Throw away the gender roles. I just want to hear from everybody, like how you view paying for dates. So I find that very interesting. So write us. We love to have you as a guest on our show. We can protect your identity. We can protect the identity of people in your stories. Thanks so much, Harrison, for being my co-host.
Pleasure.
Love hearing your side of the story. Thank you, Melissa, for sharing that story. And if you were that dude who bathroom bailed her, we love to have you as a guest on the show.
Let's get your side.
Yes, I'm locking my bathroom 1. And 2, we want to hear why you did what you did. And maybe you have a very redeeming story. Hey, we want to hear your side of the story too. And with that said, 1, 2, 3,
Stay dateable.
Yay, we're bringing back action items this week, which is sort of your dating challenge, if you will. And for this week, we're challenging you to exercise sympathy. And of course, we all know we should exercise sympathy, but do we always do it? No. When you're going on these dates this week or interacting with other people, put yourself in their shoes. Think about how you would want the situation to be handled if you were on the receiving end. See if you put on that simple filter, how your actions and decisions may change. The most efficient way to meet new people is a combination of online and offline. 500 Brunches has your offline covered. Connect over brunch with new friends. Come alone or bring a buddy. There is always a table full of friendly faces, mimosas, and eggs Benedict. Sign up at 500brunches.com and use the code DATEABLE for a free entry. To connect with us, visit dateablepodcast.com. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, all under Dateable Podcast.